Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the show. I appreciate you joining me today. What we're going to discuss today is what I wish I knew before my first job, whether it was something I ended up discovering later, was told later, or just flat out, I want to help you guys out early in your career. So without further ado, let's dive right in. So your first job is really just a paid learning opportunity. It's an advanced internship if you really want to boil it down. And I know that's not going to make a lot of you very happy and sound very glamorous, but that's actually the point. You are not locked into your career path. So your first job, you really should be in observing and information gathering mode. You should be looking to see what other types of corporate jobs there are, what the different realms and niches are within your chosen current career path. Do you want to switch to something else? And before you go deep and vertical in 5, 10, 15, 20 years in a particular career path, take those first 1 to 3 years to observe and learn and figure out what the options on the table are in real world experience. And this will help you make sure that you are making the decision, not just for today, but for the long term. And what you also want to do is focus on skill development, not money and salary. So skills come first because they will compound. If you ever looked at an investment calculator and understand compounding interest, skills are your compounding interest in your career. And then money and title as secondary. If you can balance the two, then great. And so giving you kind of two different stories from my end. One is I was at a particular front-end help desk job in my IT career. And I had saved a significant amount of money for an organization and really had high performance marks across the board. And so I went in to negotiate a 7% raise, which ended up being about $3,000. And I was told I wasn't worth another dime. So I immediately started job shopping. And about 3 weeks later, I put in my 2-week notice and I came out with really my dream scenario of what I'm talking about here with this lesson, which is I ended up getting a 50% raise. I also got a promotion to where I was told I was not qualified and I would be trial by fire and I would either be there in 6 months or I'd be let go in 6 months. And it would really be up to my merit. And then the other side of the equation is I got exposed to every single realm of IT within this organization as well. So I got to see the other sides of security and networking and Linux and data centers and cloud and all of this in one job. So I got to see the breadth of capabilities. I got to choose my vertical. I got the 50% pay raise and I got a promotion to the point that the company flat out told me I might not be there in 6 months. So this was a situation in which I loved and I relished it. And it was probably the single most pivotal point in my career because it allowed me to know that the realm I wanted to go deep in is where I wanted to go deep and is what I chose. And on top of that, it really set the tone for the rest of my career of being comfortable leaving jobs or going for promotions or stretching myself and realizing that under pressure is where I thrive. Now, one where I wildly prioritized skill over money was I previously worked in the oil and gas industry, and oil and gas naturally overpays. It's just part of their industry, regardless of what role that you are in. I ended up being burnt out after a year in that particular industry. It was just something where I had to travel too much, and it really just was not a very conducive schedule or hours. So I ended up leaving there to get a promotion, but I took a $34,000 pay cut. And this was split between effectively 1/3 in salary and 2/3 in bonus across that 34,000. Now, this allowed me to get to the next level of IT, which for those of you that know or don't know, essentially I got to be designing and implementing the technological solutions for the first time in my career for a company. And it was a global company that was on 3 different continents, entering a 4th, and across those 3 continents was in 5 different countries. So something to where it's a pretty big infrastructure that I got to run and I got to manage. And so while I took that pay cut, I got the opportunity. And then what was nice is I never dropped beneath that threshold of opportunity, and the range of salaries and pay in that particular echelon of IT, once you're at the engineer level, is genuinely about $150,000 range. Not that the salary is that, but on the low end, you're talking those are generally about $80,000, $90,000 a year jobs. And on the high end can be $250,000. So, I mean, it's a massive, massive range. And all I had to do was gain the seniority. So that's the first lesson. Your first job is a paid learning opportunity, and subtext, garner skills over money. And if you can do both, then great. but skills are what's going to compound over your career. Okay. Next one is going to be networking is more important than your work, especially early on. So getting in the room with the right people. I always say in your department, learn to pick out the smartest person in the room. Pick out the smartest person in the room, figure out how to make their life easier, and then ask for coaching and mentorship in return. It's that simple. Like, that is such a huge formula. And then they become an advocate for you. You're making them look good, which gets them rapport and promotions and salary and just all those different components. They then uplift you, and it becomes this giant circle. And what you want to figure out is why they're the smartest person in the room. And when they're coaching and mentoring you, you're not trying to just emulate them one-to-one. You are your own being, but you want to figure out what their particular advantage is over everyone else that you see, or what made you pinpoint them as the smartest person in the room, and then adopt that with your own personal twist and flair. And this is how I was able to get promotions relatively on an annual basis, anywhere from 12 to 18 months consistently for the first 10 years of my career. It was just promotion, 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 promotion. It was because I got uplifted by the people above me, by me making them look better, take work off of their plate, which then got me exposed to the work above me, right? It was just this crucial, vicious cycle. And aside from that, unless a company is really screwing you over, never burn the bridges. And this is another part of networking, is when you are at the conferences, when you are at your company meetings, when you are, if you're in the office, right, and you're in the lunchroom, whatever, just talk with people, network, spark up conversations, ask them what they do, ask them how your particular job might impact that. So me coming from technology, like, hey, what are your pain points? What do you like and dislike about the technology you're using, and so on and so forth. And these two strategies of just networking inside of your company, and then also, like I said, picking out the smartest person in the room, making their life easier, and asking for coaching and mentoring, will set you up for success for your entire career, start to finish. All right. Third lesson. Degrees don't matter. And I know you're going to hate that for those of you that took the time to get one. But what you end up realizing when you get in the field is most people do not have a degree and career path alignment. They got their degree in maybe whatever their passion was. Maybe it was more of an informational type of degree as opposed to an actionable degree. And when I say actionable here, I'm meaning things like healthcare or STEM or law, right? These are things that have direct, tangible results all the time. Engineering, I said STEM. So those sorts of roles, right? And then informational might be something along the lines of history or ancient cultures or these sorts of things, right? Crazy enough, the two most common degrees I saw in my IT career path, by far, history and finance. Finance is very actionable, don't get me wrong, but those are the two most common degrees I've seen in the IT world, bar none. Just super interesting. And so what ends up happening is very quickly your experience surpasses the importance of the degree. Like, we're talking, this happens depending on how much of an impact you're able to make early, anywhere from 2 to 4 years in your career. So you are taking 4 years to go get a degree that is going to be obsolete in 2 to 4 years, unless you're in a path where that is a huge, huge, major required component, or it's also the expectation that you go beyond that bachelor's, that you go to a master's or a doctorate or something like that. So it's one of those things where if you are really pre-first job, like you're at high school level, really look at other alternatives. Look at certification paths. Look at trade schools. Look at just skill development in general on things like Udemy or Coursera, and see if you can build a portfolio, whether physical or digital, about what you're doing, so on and so forth. But very quickly, your degree doesn't matter. All right, lesson number 4. Soft skills will make or break your career. This was definitely one that for me, I was disillusioned about for a long time, especially in a technical IT role where I knew I had the advantage in customer service and people interaction. That's just my actual background as a kid. Worked in a family business for 10 years where I was a cashier or a stock boy or something along those lines, where I was just constantly interacting with strangers and customers. So like, it comes natural. But once you get in the professional world, especially in IT, you're like, oh, my technical skills, solving problems, making business impact, blah, 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 right? No, that is maybe 50, 60% of the battle But that still leaves 40 to 50% that is that soft skills. It is networking. It is interacting with people. It is being okay and comfortable working with directors, VPs, C-levels, especially when you get into larger organizations. Interacting with the senior leadership can be huge. And one of the things that I learned is just transparent, open communication. There's a way to do it professional and not professional, but I'm going to circle back to the oil and gas story that I told. And one of the biggest things that I learned from there is to always, always communicate with your leadership, the good, the bad, and the ugly. And the reason being is because I mentioned I took a $34,000 pay cut, and it was due to burnout that I left. When I put in my 2-week notice, my manager said, well, why? And I explained the burnout, the situation, and he goes, well, I wish you came to me. I was like, well, okay, well, why? He goes, because we're actually working on solving that right now by hiring this and shifting this and doing that. And he laid out the plan. And I sat there and I said, okay, well, can I give that a shot and take my 2 weeks back? And he said, no, you made your decision. You made your bed, lie in it. And that will always stuck out to me, that from then on, I communicated with leadership no matter how bad it was, no matter how good it was. It was just something to where they needed to know the state of the union. They needed to know where I was, especially since very quickly after this, I actually learned my threshold for burnout and volume and hours worked was way higher than most people. So when I was getting to that point, I definitely need to communicate it so that I could either self-course correct or maybe leverage some leadership to maybe help me course correct. But whether it's just communication in general and influence and, that sort of component, making yourself visible, like I mentioned on the first part of this, or it's just being communicative so that you can set yourself up to be coached and mentored or ask for advice, or just in general have that breadth of skills when it comes to communication. Soft skills will make or break your career. Lesson number 5, no one cares about your career more than you. And so as much as I'm giving you this advice, and my personal passion is to make you better, faster, stronger than anyone around you or even myself, like that is, to me, that is the benchmark of a successful coach or successful mentor, is that if I am your coach, you or your mentor, you should surpass what I accomplished before I accomplished it in less time and more reliably. And if that's not happening, then I am failing you as the coach or the mentor. So as much as that is true, and there's going to be other people, like there are definitely other mentors that I've had that's their same mindset, and that's where I get it from. At the end of the day, nobody cares about your career more than you. And so why I'm telling you this is because you have to make the best decisions for you. Different career paths offer different opportunities, but I got to the point to where I literally changed jobs every single year. But that led to me, 6xing my salary in 7 years? No, 5xing in 7 years. It also led to me getting to that engineer level I mentioned earlier very quickly. I was there in less than 5. Most people are 7 to 10 in my industry or in my line of work of IT. It got me into leadership very quickly. It just really, when I took the ownership and was like, I don't care if other people are telling me I'm not qualified, I know I am. And then I'd go out, the job market would tell me I was. That just solidified that no one cared about it more than me. I even took 2 years off in the middle of my career. Don't get me wrong, came with some negatives that were unforeseen, but such is life. I overcame them and I did what I had to do. I also moved multiple times, both for jobs and not for jobs. So this was something to where I knew that was my responsibility. I had to move to make the best decision for me and go to where the opportunities were, or go to a place where I could work remotely and had a lower cost of living, or whatever it might have been. I had to make the decisions for me and by me. And then even while I mentioned I switched jobs every single year, I stuck where it finally counted, which is after I'd been an engineer for a little while, I needed to get more depth and less breadth. And on top of that, I was really on the verge of a leadership role. I stayed at a place for over 4 years that allowed me to reach that next echelon and now take the next step in my career, of which I am continuing to evolve. So this is all to say, again, no one cares about your career more than you. So do what is best for you and nobody else. All right, so now we're going to get into a couple more philosophical ones as well. which is I'm going to piggyback off of my job hopping every year early in my career. Job loyalty, not worth it. Do, again, what you have to do. Do not feel like you have to stick at a place for 5, 7, 10, 12 plus years. If you feel that you are in a spot that you could move up or get a better opportunity or something like that a year in or 2 years in or even 6 months in, I would really, really question less than a year. But with that said, test it in the market. Start applying. Go see what the market is telling you. That was always my gauge. If I felt like I deserved more or was worth more or was ready for a promotion, and I'd go to my leadership and work with them and see what the opportunities were and what the paths were and blah, 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 and there was just a level of misalignment, then I'd go to the job market. Do other companies agree with my current company about me? And every single time the answer was no, I'm right. And they weren't. And that's what allowed me to continuously move up so quickly. So don't feel like you have to be loyal. When you feel like you hit that spot or you're stuck or you just don't like the job or you don't like the company, go test the market. That's simple. All right. Work-life balance is a lie. That's our next one. So early in your career, and this was the biggest thing that I struggled with on and off, is work-life balance. You are not trying to achieve balance. You want to achieve integration. And this also doesn't mean that you are a nice, healthy split of 50, 50, blah, blah, blah. No. To me, your 20s especially are where you're supposed to figure out what you're capable of. Push your limits, because the chances of harm or true negative impact to your life are very, very little. You have little assets. You probably don't have a super, super long-term relationship or marriage. You probably don't have kids. And if you do, fine, play it a little bit safer. But at the same time, focus on the integration and charging forward super hard to figure out what you are capable of. And that's how once then you get to your 30s or even late 20s, then you can refine your maximum capabilities because you know the amount of time, effort, and energy that you can put into something. Now what you want to do in that mid-career stage, like I said, late 20s, early 30s, now you're going, okay, I am able to work 12 hours a day, 6 days a week consistently, or I am able to work only 40 hours a week, but then I have maybe over here while I'm taking care of my kids, I can also develop skills or whatever your kind of combination of capability of maximum forward movement is. Now you're going to refine that. Now that you know the box, now fill in the box with the refinement, and that will set you up for that early retirement into your 40s and 50s. So screw work-life balance. Not worth it. I'm not saying that you just go all in on hustle culture, 140 hours a week that you're all awake, that you're going to do that, right? Like that's not what I'm saying. But understand that you are trying to integrate your work life and your development and forward progress. You want to make these things work for you and together, not against each other. And you're not trying to sacrifice your career for your life, and you're not trying to sacrifice your life for your career. Now, if you are the type of person that want to operate on one of those extremes, that's also okay. But know that it comes with a lot of cost. If you cost your life for your work, then understand that social, family, relationships, etc., might come at a huge, huge boon and sacrifice and may not come until later in life or not at all. And on the flip side, if you are going to take life over work, then understand you're probably not going to make that much money. You're probably not going to make it that far, and you're probably not going to climb very much. I'm not saying either one of these is bad. Just understand the cost of your decisions. Okay. Most advice from your boss is trash. Now, and I'm going to asterisk this by saying, unless you actually end up with a really, really good boss. And I can say that from my perspective, I have, 4 that I can really look back on out of the 10 jobs, 11 jobs that I've held that were just money, right? So it's definitely in the minority, but most of the time your boss is trying to make themselves look good. What did I say earlier? No one cares about your career more than you. That's not just for yourself. That's everyone around you and everyone you're working with, right? So your boss is trying to make themselves look good. So their advice or them telling you to maybe be patient or that, hey, we're a family here and we don't quite have this available, or hey, can you take on this additional workload for no additional compensation, or can you do this or do that, right? Like where they're just kind of dragging you all over the place. Or even if it's maybe in a meeting, hey, I think you should approach this conversation like this, and then you listen and it doesn't work. It could be you, but it also could be them not necessarily setting you up to be ideal. Maybe they actually wanted to be the one to have that conversation. Now that that one didn't go well, they set themselves up to do well. So especially because you also have to realize that you are entry level. So your boss is going to be a supervisor or a manager. It's going to be somebody that's probably not much more senior than yourself. And more often than not, they are probably just better at your particular entry level job than you. They're not actual leaders yet. So just be skeptical, ask questions, apply the methodology. If it doesn't work, don't do it again. Throw it in the repertoire of what not to do. Like just keep this going, but be aware that it is potentially likely that your boss is actually more out for themselves than for you. I did a video on this previously, so if you want to, so I will link it below. But my next lesson here is going to be promotions aren't about merit, they're about politics. And I'm going to sum this up by simply saying you need to market yourself. You need to advertise yourself. You need to network. You need to communicate. What I was saying earlier about inside of your company, being at the watering hole or the lunchroom, or going and asking other departments and leaders how things are going in their department, or contributing to your all hands meetings or get-togethers or whatever it might be. This is where that forward progress is made, whether you like it or not. You can get promoted outside of leadership roles, meaning more senior technical positions or more senior hands-on positions, without the politics side of the equation. But if you want to go the leadership side of the equation, you're going to have to, as a previous leader of mine said, kiss babies and rub elbows. It comes with the territory. It's for better or worse. It is incredibly unfortunate, if you want my honest opinion. But none of us can really dictate the world, can we? None of us are that valuable. So just understand that you putting yourself out there and communicating and networking, that's going to be the big breadwinner when it comes to you being promoted. All right. Now, for those of you that are like me, that are going to listen and test your limits in your 20s and 30s, understand that you can't outwork burnout. It will eventually beat you, but that's actually the point early in your career, before that first job, is to burn yourself out. Figure out what that actually takes. And here's the crazy thing you'll realize is burnout typically is not caused by working too much or overextending yourself, but it's actually caused by the mental perspective and attitude towards what it is that you are doing. When you just don't believe what you're doing, or you don't like what you're doing, or it's just mundane and monotonous and terrible, that's what's going to burn you out more than working 60, 70, 80, 90 hours a week. There's obviously a bell curve to that, where when you're actually taking away from your sleep and recharging and that sort of stuff, absolutely. But if you really did nothing but work and sleep, you're talking 14 hours a day that you could then work. That's 7 days a week. And you'd be working, 94 hours a week, right? So very doable, technically speaking, in the extreme. But understand that you're not going to outwork burnout, but that's actually the point of this video is, remember, we're talking about what I wish I knew before my first job. Figure out where you burn out, what the causes of your burnout are. The faster you identify those, the longer you can take that with you, and then the longer that you can use that to your advantage. All right, this one had a huge impact on my career. Your skills have an expiration date. We are in a huge technological revolution and age, and we always have been. I mean, if you think about it, 100 years ago, the automobile was just becoming somewhat mainstream, right? With Henry Ford. In the last 60 years, we have gone from computers in the size of a room to a computer in your pocket that also has cameras and accessories and etc. So understand that you will never be done learning. And if you think that, you are dooming your career from the beginning. So it was just a big lesson learned for me, because I mentioned earlier, I took 2 years off. This was the biggest lesson I took away from that. For those of you that don't know much about kind of the IT industry, the long story short is most people have heard of the cloud. And the cloud revolution on a corporate level really started to happen between 2013 and 2016 is really where it became very, very, very widespread. And 2013 to 2015 is when I took my 2-year break. Sorry, 2014 to 2016. So it was literally, I took it on the front end of the cloud revolution. And I just assumed, you know what? I'll always be able to come back. I'll be fine. I have a good enough career beforehand. Nope. I came back. So I mentioned that I already had taken a $34,000 pay cut from oil and gas. When I came back after those 2 years, I had to take another $20,000 pay cut. I had to take a demotion, and then I had to work my way back up because I lacked the cloud and automation skills that had really taken foothold in those 2 years I took off. So understanding that even if you are sticking on the same vertical path of climbing for your 15, 20, 25, 30-year career, the skills that are going to get you there are not the same ones that got you here. So never stop learning. Always seek the in-demand skills. And before you hit that mid-career crisis, understand this, because this is most often the cause, is that mid-career, people get stuck, they're burnt out, they don't know where to go, they have no options. It's because they stopped learning. All right. Your best colleagues will leave, and it will suck. This is the next lesson here. So like I mentioned earlier, everybody's out for themselves. Job loyalty is not what it's all cracked up to be. This is going to be the worst part, is that you are super gung-ho in your company. You found a great department. You love 60% of the people that you work with. The other 40% are meh, whatever. Your boss is great and this and that. They're also looking for themselves. The company might not be treating them well. They may have reached the next level, and they're not willing to stay and harm themselves in order to stay. So understand that this is also going to piggyback with that networking piece, right? Is you have to understand that they're going to leave the job, the company, your department, your leadership, etc., just as easily as you are going to leave them. But why you want to network with them to circle back is so that you have that relationship. I have had a couple different times in my career, people reach back out to me and go, hey, I'm over at this company. Do you want to come with me? Right? Or even one of my most recent positions, my previous leader, he was like, hey, I'm not sure where I'm going to go. I have some options on the table, but if I have the opportunity to bring you, do you want to come with me? I was like, sure. Like, it was more of a blank check type option, right? Not from a money perspective, but just, do you want to work? Do you want to continue to work with me? And I said yes, because he and I were a phenomenal 1-2 punch. And I think that putting us together, we can accomplish anything from a technology perspective. So it's just being on the front end, realizing you're going to lose relationships. You're going to lose those interactions. You're going to lose people in the department that are awesome. Don't take that as a huge hit. It's expected. It's okay. You continue trucking along. Give the next person that comes in the benefit of the doubt. They might be better. They could be worse. Because you don't know, give them a shot. But it's one of those things where it is a little bit of a gut punch when this happens for the first time, that you had your favorite colleague depart, or you leave and didn't realize how much they matter to you. So just understand that people leave, people come, and people go. All right. And we are going to end on this note. HR is not your friend. HR in an ideal world is supposed to protect you from the company and the company from you. And it's supposed to be split, and it's supposed to be balanced. It's not. It never is. At the end of the day, you don't write their paycheck. They are there to protect the company and not you. Starting in my second job, I started creating a folder in all of my email boxes called CYA, Cover Your Ass. And any sort of critical conversation, any critical documentation, threw in there. Might have had a little bit of organization, depending on how much actually went in there and what the situations were. At the very least, I would also maybe even double up and put it both in my email or in my OneDrive, especially if it was more files and not communications. But cover yourself. Again, nobody cares about your career more than you. And I have been in situations where blatantly HR was not only not my friend, but I had multiple people at a company willing to go to court on my behalf if I decided to file a wrongful termination suit or a mistreatment or discrimination suit. And I'm the type of person to where if it's gonna cost me my sanity, I don't care. I don't want it. And those types of situations, I literally give myself a timeline. If I don't harm my financial situation and I get a job within X amount of time or in order to not harm my situation, then I'm just going to move on with the rest of my life. It's not worth the stress. It's not worth the lawyers. It's not worth the court. It's not worth this or that. And every single time I got a job quick enough that it never mattered. But very, very, very quickly, while HR in its ideal state is a good thing and would be something I think any of us can support, that we as the employee are being protected from malicious behavior on the company or discrimination by the company, etc. Or on the flip side, the company is being protected by terrible employees or employees trying to back them into a corner or use loopholes to take an advantage. That would be great. But they are almost always one-sided, where they are protecting the company and not you. So do not feel like they are your true source of confidentiality and not a lack of opinion or a lack of stake, or it just, unless it is truly dire and legal, do not get HR involved. Solve it as a professional or leave the organization. All right. So let's see if we can recap all of these lessons here real quick. All right. Lesson 1, first job is a paid learning opportunity. Lesson 2, networking is more important than your hard work. Lesson 3, your degree doesn't matter. Lesson 4, soft skills will make or break your career. Lesson 5, no one cares about your career more than you. Lesson 6, job loyalty, not worth it. Lesson 7, work-life balance is a trap. Lesson 8, most advice from your boss might be trash. Lesson 9, promotions are about merit. They are not about merit. They're about politics. Lesson 10, you can't outwork burnout. It will win. Lesson 11, your skills have an expiration date. Lesson 12, your best colleagues will leave and it will suck. And lesson 13 is HR is not your friend. I appreciate your time. I hope this is beneficial for those of you that are in that early career stage, coming out of college, coming out of high school, whatever, and that this can help to shift your mindset or to help you approach more successfully that first early career stage, and also be more comfortable being uncomfortable, because you will be, and understanding that it's an opportunity and your eyes should be wide open. It is not meant to be, I am now starting the rest of my life and I'm going to be locked in for 40 years. All right. So I appreciate your time. If you like this video, if you have any comments, you have things to add to this list, leave them in the comments down below. I will respond to every single one every time. Check the track record on other videos. If you have any feedback on the content creation or want to see any additional topics, also leave that in the comments below. I greatly appreciate it. If you like this video and you like other ones, check them out. Hit the like button, notification bell, and subscribe to the channel. We are also now live on X, Facebook, LinkedIn, and Instagram as well. So check us out there. And I appreciate your time. Until next time, thank you.